Welcome to Eye on Horror, the official podcast of iHorror.com. This is episode 93, otherwise known as season 5, episode 15. I am your host, James J. Edwards, and with me, as always, is your other host, Jacob Davison. How you doing, Jacob?
Doing good. Back on the West Coast and enjoying the last days of summer.
Cool. It has been hot, but the last couple of days have been nice and cool. Has it been kind of cool for you guys? Yeah.
Yeah, it's only been like in the low 80s, I think.
Only in the low 80s. I think it's hot everywhere, though. Aren't there like heat waves in like New York and stuff?
Oh, yeah.
Too? Yeah. Also with us is your other host, John Correa. How you doing, Correa?
See, when you say it's been cool out, as someone who spends most of their workday outside in a tent, it has not been. It's been 90s here. It was. I think we were like in a parking lot in Van Nuys, and it was 102 the other day. We were putting ice packs on our electronics to keep them from like shutting down on us. But that being said, it is officially spooky season. I'm calling it. It's spooky bitches season because all the stores are starting to stock the Halloween stuff. We got horror coming out in theaters. Like it's mid to late August, baby. Spooky season for the next 5 months.
Starting to see all the ads for like AMC's Horror-thon, all the horror channels.
And Target officially has the Halloween candy out. So, there's the sign.
There it is. I mean, honestly, we're almost to September. So this year is kind of flying. What have you guys been watching? The big thing that came out this week is Orphan First Kill. Have you guys seen this?
Yes, and I feel foolish because I didn't think to look into it. I thought it was going to theaters and I didn't want to go out to a theater. So I bought it for $25 on Vudu, not realizing it premiered on Paramount Plus.
Paramount Plus, yeah. What did you think? You have not seen it, Jacob?
I haven't seen it.
We need to keep this as vague as possible because it's funny because the first Orphan is one of those movies that you feel like
don't spoil that one either because Jacob said that he hasn't seen either Orphan.
Yeah, I haven't seen either Orphans. I was gonna do a double feature.
Do you know what the twist of the first one is though?
I know the twist.
I think it's almost, I think everybody pretty much knows. But that's one of those movies that once you know the twist, you're like, where can they go from there? How can they possibly improve on that twist? Well, First Kill kind of does. It's one of those movies that halfway through it turns into a different, it's not what you think it is. It is so freaking awesome. And I'm just going to say it. Julia Stiles is a queen. She is so awesome.
I've been saying that since Save the Last Dance. So I don't know where you've been the last 20 years.
10 Things I Hate About You.
Oh, yeah.
That her little poem scene can get a tear to my eye every time.
I loved Orphan First Kill. I have one gripe. We didn't see the first kill, right?
No, it's misnamed because they explain at the beginning. They're like, well, here's where she came from. And it's like, no. Is it going to be First or Kill? Is there going to be another one?
Yeah, that was bothering me a little bit. That I don't know. Well, I don't know if it was a mistitle because they just showed like, oh yeah, and here's like all this bloody stuff from what she did before, and it's like, okay, so did she like brutally like beat someone up or torture them, or did they die? They didn't specify that, and so I was sitting there this whole time. I'm like, they called it First Kill, and yet it happened off screen prior. Yeah. Like, what the hell? Anyways, it's great. I applaud the filmmakers of First Kill for not only in pulling off something that was completely different from Orphan, but just the sheer fact that they did a prequel to a movie that came out 10 years ago using the same actress who was a child then and is now, she's my age, so she's like a grown ass adult now. And I know I've said this about Scream and I've said this about the last movie we Prey, where I'm like, yeah, no, I'm super down for a movie in this franchise to come out every 10 years. I do want an Orphan movie to come out every 10 years. And just to see how they pull off keeping that actress looking the same age.
Keeping Isabel Furman. There had to be some digital manipulation because because she didn't look a day over Orphan.
But they did enough practical where it wasn't like, it wasn't Irishman noticeable de-aging stuff. Like I saw some behind the scene photos and they had like, the family on Club Kid boots, with the high elevator heels and stuff. And there was definitely some like forced perspective. Forced perspective. There we go. Kind of like what they did in Lord of the Rings to make, the hobbits look smaller in some of the scenes. Yeah.
To make Will Ferrell look bigger.
Which that always excites the shit out of me. I love in-camera effects. So it was a lot of fun. And they did a lot of really fun moments with her on just being the situation where it is, where it's a child, it's in a, can we do we mention the big reveal of the first one that it's an
I think it's fair game. If you haven't seen the first Orphan and you don't know the twist, fast forward like 15 seconds.
Yeah, sorry, but it's an adult who looks like a kid and she's a murderer, and they do a lot of fun stuff with that. There's like the car scene where she just takes off in the car.
Yeah, those are, and then that you don't want to spoil too much of this for Jacob, but what they've done is, and the thing is, I never realized, because Julia Stiles' hair is like dyed dark. I think she's usually a blonde. And when they both have their hair pulled back, you see that Julia Stiles' character actually does look like she could be Isabel Fuhrman's mom.
Yeah.
They look enough alike where you're like, yeah, that is, they could be related. It's really, really well done. And just the fact that they could come up with something jaw-dropping in, that, I mean, I won't say that it beats the first one, because the first one, if you don't know that reveal is coming, it is totally shocking. This one is, it's also shocking, not quite as shocking, but man, you're like,
yeah, it's surprising how good of a prequel it is. It's kind of like Ouija Origin of Evil, except the first movie was actually good in this franchise.
I didn't mind the first Ouija, but Origin of Evil is way better.
Yeah,
because it's Flanagan. I mean, Flanagan is going to outdo pretty much anybody.
That is true. I do have one gripe with how people are reacting to First Kill. A lot of people are comparing it to Malignant and saying it's this year's Malignant on the what the fuck factor, I guess. Which I'm like, I get it. Like, the thing in this movie is a bit what the fucky, but nothing compares to the Gabriel reveal in that jail cell.
Yeah.
Nothing compares to Zoe Bell's what the fuck, because never related and felt so in the moment with the character than Zoe Bell in the jail scene in Malignant. Like,
yeah, it's a different kind of shocking reveal.
Yeah. And
it's weird because First Kill is really schlocky, but it's not as schlocky as Malignant.
Yeah.
It's more like it's kind of a throwback to those 80s escape lunatic, slasher movies, whereas Malignant was like a throwback to like 80s Cronenberg kind of a thing. So yeah, it's a different kind of schlock.
But yeah, Orphan First Kill on Paramount Plus.
On Paramount Plus, unless you have an extra $25 floating around like Korea.
Oh man, and it was like, I was like, I went to the bathroom halfway through the movie and I was just like looking up some stuff and I was just like, God damn it. I could have just saved myself, but I already started watching it, so I couldn't get the refund. So anywho, did either of you guys see Fall?
No, I really, really wanted to. They didn't screen it for us. What I imagine Fall is, and tell me if this is correct, is it basically the first scene of Ad Astra?
I'll be frank, I don't remember much of Ad Astra outside of the Moon Pirates.
Now, the first scene of Ad Astra, they're on like this huge antenna, and they have to basically abandon it, so they like jump with parachute. It's really, really tense. I know that this isn't going to be the same as Fall, but
no, because Ad Astra is actually satisfying. I think I said it last night. I think Fall might be this year's Moonfall for me. And yes, I recognize Moonfall came out earlier this year. It's like, I really like the premise of like two people. It's about this woman, these two friends. One of them was married and her husband dies in the beginning in a climbing accident. And so almost a year later, she's in a total rough spot, drinking all the time, can't get over it. And her friend, who's become like a travel vlogger, influencer person, is like, hey, let's go climb this really tall tower that's like 2 Eiffel Towers tall. And when they get to the top, the ladders fall and they're stuck up there. And I couldn't get over the melodrama of like the beginning, because it was just kind of really over the top. Like the drinking in the beginning was just this is one of those movies where like the details in it are just not clicking and I can't get over it. So like in the beginning, they're like, her life's a mess. She's a drunken mess. And they show her apartment and it's like clean except for like dishes in the sink and like a pizza box on the kitchen table. And it's just like, oh, wow, what my place is more trashed in an afternoon of just taking the afternoon off than this person who's supposedly been like just absolutely a wreck for a year. And then it's like the father is just like constantly being like, get over your dead husband. He was an asshole. And it's just like, wait, what? Like, it's just like really weird. And then like they get there under the premise that she's like, her friend's going to vlog the whole thing. And like, as she's like, does like a little video in the beginning, and then she doesn't film anything until they get to the top. It's like, you're a vlogger. You would be milking the shit out of it with like GoPros on you and all this stuff. Like she didn't even film any of it. But the worst thing is there's supposed to be these climbers and they're climbing up the needle. Not once do they clip in at any point on it. Like they have the harnesses, they brought harnesses and 50 feet of rope, but there's no clipping in. There's no safety. There's no backup at any point. If one of them falls, she's taking the other one with her and like whiplashing him faster to the ground. Like it's like, I want to know if these filmmakers were actually consulted climbers, because nothing about it is like something that someone would actually do with that. And that sums up like a lot of the decisions in this movie. It's a lot of like stupid things. Like I know Twitter was blowing up her. I don't know about blowing up, but they brought up the fact that one of them had to pee off of the tower thing. And like, it's a 360 thing. There's no walls up there. You know, it's just a platform. There's no railings, nothing. And like they drop their backpack early on. It's like sitting on a dish. And that's the side she decides to pee on. So she pisses on the bag. It's like, you literally had 360. You could have peed anywhere and you pissed on your bag. Like it's these decisions like that. But yeah, it just didn't work for me. And unlike movies like Happy Death Day, where it just doesn't vibe with me, and I get it. And that's cool. Like, I don't have to vibe with every movie. Not every movie's made for me. But this one, I'm genuinely a bit taken back in like how positive a lot of the reactions are. I guess it's just like super not made for me. But like, I just found myself going, God, please fall. One of you just fucking fall already. And like, and again, I really like the premise, but like it just like, you guys remember Adam Green's Frozen?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It was like that, but think of like, you know, they're stuck up there, but there's all these things that can go on that happen with it, like the girl getting her hand frozen or peeing herself, or the wolves and stuff. There's a lot of different elements that get introduced in it. This film seems to just bypass a lot of them. And it's also sad because you have these two female best friends up there, and they introduce this whole plot line on how the best friend cheated with the husband in it. And it's like,
of course they did.
Like that plot literally does nothing for the movie. They don't have a big fight about it. They don't have a big like coming together or anything with it. And it's just like, why is it that you have two female climbers that could be really cool? They could be really cool characters, and you have to spend so much screen time talking about a guy who's in like a man who's in the first 2 minutes of the movie, and then one of them has to be a cheater. You know, like what? Like, there's no reason for it. There was no like, you could have had like some really cool like discussions going on. There was like a moment where they showed like a storm coming, and she's like at the top of the needle, and there's like lightning and wind. It's like, yeah, no, this is going to be like really thrilling. And it's past. It's the next day. Like, nothing happens with it. Like, it would have been more interesting instead of having like that internal fighting that's kind of a bit misogynistic, and just had it be more about them versus like the elements and whatnot. But yeah, I always find that really lazy, where it's like, oh, we got to create the drama, so let's have them do something stupid. Also, there is so many scenes of them pulling rope and rope being pulled through their hands, and not once are their hands injured because they're not wearing gloves. Yeah. All right, that's enough griping.
Suspend your disbelief.
Like I honestly do want you guys to see this movie and see if it's just me being like bitchy or if I'm crazy, because there's a lot of people being super duper positive, and that's cool, man. I'm glad people are enjoying it, but I don't see it. But yeah, Fall in theaters now.
As for me, I was fortunate enough to go to a screening last week of Rebecca McKendry's Glorious, now on Shudder.
Yeah.
Did any of you guys see it?
Yeah, I watched it on Shudder yesterday.
Okay, well, since James hasn't seen it, I'll keep it spoiler free, and also because this is a movie you got definitely recommend checking out and seeing all the twists and turns. But basically, it's about this dude who's driving along this lonesome country road, and like it looks like he's gone for some shit, or he's just kind of a wreck. Like he goes to this highway rest stop and drinks himself into a stupor, and he wakes up the next morning and he goes into the bathroom stall and he's a mess and just peeing his guts out. And it turns out he's not alone in that bathroom, and there's what seems to be a very cordial person in the stall next door, but wouldn't you know it, it's a eldritch, like Lovecraftian monster living in the bathroom stall of this highway bathroom, and it starts talking to him. And I should also add that the drifter's name is Ryan Quanten, and the monster is voiced by none other than J.K. Simmons.
And he's speaking to him through a glory hole.
Yeah.
Hence the title. Glorious, because it's a cosmic horror god in a glory hole. I thought that was genius. Like the second I was like, wait, cosmic god in a glory hole, and it's called Glorious. Oh, Rebecca, you're great.
Play on words, gotta love them. But yeah, no, it's a very interesting kind of genre busting movie, because it's kind of a horror comedy, kind of a stage play drama. It's very minimalist, because it's basically the majority of the movie is Ryan Quanten and J.K. Simmons in his bathroom with some flashbacks and some other stuff. So it's mostly just Ryan Quanten and J.K. Simmons going off each other, and they have terrific chemistry, especially considering J.K. Simmons is a Cthulhu type extra dimensional monster in this.
And I cannot stress how great J.K. Simmons is.
Oh yeah,
it's like they gave him the best dialogue. He delivers it perfectly. There's some genuinely haunting moments with it. I got a little bit lost with the human character in it. I kind of wish that they explored the reveal at the end a bit earlier and a bit more with that. But I had a lot of fun with Glorious. I think, again, just the premise alone. And like they showed in the trailer him being like, there's only one thing you can do to help the complete annihilation of all existence. And that's you got to give me a part of your body through this hole, like heavily implying that he needs to fuck the glory hole.
And what part of your body will fit in this hole?
Yeah. They do some real fun stuff with that in the movie. I don't want to spoil anything, but that was one of my favorite parts of the movie was that the whole like debate and like follow through and everything. It was really well done. But yeah, I mean, I had fun with it. I wish I liked it more than I did, but I really loved all the cosmic horror and aspects of that. I just wish the other side of it kind of lined up a bit more for me. But yeah, Glorious was a lot of fun. It's a great way to spend the afternoon on Shudder, and it's short. It's only like an hour and 18 minutes or something.
Yeah, it's a pretty short film.
Have either of you guys seen Bodies?
Not yet.
Nah.
I saw Bodies, and it is it's not the movie you think it is. It's being billed as kind of a A24 slasher, and it's more of a whodunit. And the main premise is all of these friends are getting together for a hurricane party. In Pete Davidson's one of the characters, and his parents are going away, or are away. So he invites all his buddies over for a hurricane party. And the hurricane, of course, knocks all the lights out. So they're drunk and high, and they decide to play this game called Bodies, where one of them is like a murderer and the rest of them, everybody kind of runs around in the dark. If the murderer touches you, you pretend to be dead. And then when the lights come on, you have to figure out who the murderer is. And of course, it's not a game. It's real, and people start really dying. I mean, it's okay. It's not. It can't decide if it wants to be a slasher or a whodunit. So it kind of like straddles the line and doesn't really commit to either side. But I will say the final reveal of the murderer is brilliant. It's genius. It's also being billed as a comedy, and it's not. The only thing comic about it is these characters are really they overuse and misuse the words of "you're silencing me," "you're ableist," and Pete Davidson has this great diatribe about the term gaslighting and how people use gaslighting just a catch-all for abuse. And he's all, that's not even what it means. That's where all the comedy comes from, is these people just being kind of too woke for their own good. But the final reveal of the murderer is hysterical. The way they do it. It's awesome. But it's typical A24. It's shot a lot like Spring Breakers or The Bling Ring, with like those, stylistic cameras and lots of neon, and it's an A24 slasher, I guess. But and the body count's not as high as it should be. I mean, of the party of people, there's a lot of survivors. So that's the other thing that doesn't make it a slasher. It's like too many people are left standing. But anyway, it was okay.
It looked like fun. Sounds a lot more fun than Fall. Wish we saw that.
I'll let you know when I see Fall.
So, James, would you recommend it?
Sure. I mean, I recommend people watch anything, honestly. I mean, I never don't recommend. I mean, if it looks interesting to you, watch it.
Yeah.
It's not going to make my top 10, I don't think, but it's worth seeing. But again, any movie I think is worth seeing. Any movie that has been made is worth seeing. Well, to an extent, I guess.
Yeah, we can exclude Muck from that.
I was just about to
Bring
say.
it back to Muck.
We've given that movie so much free advertisement.
Yeah, but I mean, we're telling people to not watch it.
Bad publicity.
I wonder if we piqued anybody's curiosity enough to look it up and watch it, because we've been saying how bad it is.
I think we did that to Kelly. I think we did it to Kelly. Yeah.
Oh, no.
Poor Kelly. Sorry.
What have we done? Let's see. And did you guys ever see the WNUF Halloween special?
Yeah. Love it.
Well, the sequel's out.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're going from the 80s to the radical 1990s.
No, what's the gimmick on the sequel? I mean, is it the same thing where it's like something taped off TV, or how do they pull it?
Yeah, basically, well, the other thing is it's called the Out There Halloween Mega Tape, and it's supposed to be like this bootleg videotape from like just like a Video Pirate or whatever, and it's set purely in the 90s. It's a period piece. In that, well, it's kind of funny because it's split up this time. It's not just one broadcast. It's like the first half is set in this kind of Ricky Lake type talk show. Discussing a bunch of Halloween topics like this, one of the guests they have on is like this goth guy who claims to be a vampire, and a woman who says she's having an affair with a ghost. So there's some kind of Jerry Springer type stuff in there. And then the second half is like this Halloween alien broadcast where they're doing kind of like an alien autopsy type thing and talking to this cult and going to these alleged sightings and stuff. And of course, in between like the original WNUF Halloween special, they've got all these commercials and fake trailers for stuff, but it's all 90s themed. So like there's a Beanie Babies type commercial. There's like a Super Soaker type commercial. There's radical sodas and fruit drink commercials. And they also have some trailers for some fake movies. Like my favorite probably was The Bogies, which is about like miniature critters type monsters that attack a miniature golf course. And, Chris, I feel like Chris LaMartina just perfectly captures these kind of bottle versions of the decades. Cause it's like, watching it was like, I like I'm a 90s kid, so I kind of relate to it more than the 80s stuff in the WNUF Halloween special. And it's like, this is the type of stuff I would fall asleep to on like a Wednesday night.
Yeah. What's it playing on, or do you have to do we know?
Well, for me, I had to order the DVD directly from their site. They did a screening at Midsummer Scream. I'm not sure about digital, but it is out there one from another. Also, I got the VHS tape version because they did a limited run of those, and I mean it does give an authentic experience watching it on tape.
Didn't the original end up on Shudder for a while?
Yes, they did put the original on Shudder. Not really sure about any release plans for this one, but hopefully it'll get the Shudder treatment or something, so it gets out to a wider audience, because it was a lot of fun. Let's see, and another movie I was fortunate enough to see a pre-screening of. Have you guys heard about Barbarian?
Oh, yeah. I have not seen it. It was one of the they did a Comic-Con screening, but I had to work that night, so I missed it, and I'm totally bummed. How is it?
It is good. It is real good.
I can't wait.
Yeah, no, I want to just kind of leave the premise as vague as possible, because the more you go blind into it, the better. But basically, okay, so this woman rents an Airbnb played by Georgina Campbell, and as it turns out, somebody's already at the Airbnb she booked, played by Bill Skarsgård. They meet, and they figure, the best way to sort things out is she can stay for the night while he's there, and then stuff happens. I'm just going off the trailer because that's the basic premise they set up. But I don't want to go too much deeper than that, because again, this is just something you got to watch unfold. It's a horror comedy, and I feel like a lot of comedy people are getting into horror lately, and comedy people can do horror real well, especially in the wake of like Jordan Peele, because there was definitely a kind of balancing act to that, and also the setup for both jokes and scares, which were impeccably timed. And this movie generally scared the shit out of me. Like, I was seeing it in theaters, and I actually jumped out of my seat and scared. Holy fuck! Like, it got me good.
I'm surprised it's a comedy, because it doesn't seem like it would lend itself to much comedy, the premise. But
well, I mean, horror comedy in the sense that there are some jokes in there, but like it's the good kind of horror comedy where they've got the comedic elements down because they're in reaction to the horror. Again, I can't go too deep into it, but yeah, it's mostly horror, but there are some definite scenes of levity that were pretty funny. But yeah, no, it just it has some great setups. It's a real great tension builder, because like somebody actually at the screening yelled, "Don't go down there." Yeah, it just really hooks you.
I always love a good genuine reaction like that. Like when we went to go see It Chapter 2, in the restaurant scene, when the crazy stuff first started, there was a lady at our screening who shouted, "Oh hell no!" Like real fucking loud. That was beautiful.
Oh yeah, no, I love scenes like that.
Speaking of speaking to the screen, and also, because we're the kings of transitions.
It's a good transition as long as we say we're good at them.
Yeah, let's transition to our topic by talking about Beast. Have you guys both seen Beast?
Of course.
No, not yet.
Oh, you haven't? Oh, Jacob,
what?
You of all people are going to love it.
Oh, man.
Beast is, the short answer is Idris Elba punching a lion.
Ooh.
But basically it is
unsuccessfully, I should say. There's a lot of fighting the lion in it. It does not go well.
This lion is relentless. Basically, it is Idris Elba and his two daughters. They just lost their mother to cancer, so they're on this healing safari in Africa. And an old friend of theirs is Charlotte Copley. He's like a conservationist, anti-poacher guy, and he knows his way around the plains of Africa. And so they're out there, and they get attacked by a rogue lion. And this rogue lion is like freaking Michael Myers and Jason Voorhees wrapped up in, this, 400-pound muscle frame. I mean, this lion is really, they do everything to this damn lion and it keeps coming. It's crazy, but it's the funny thing is like from another point of view, this lion can be seen as the protagonist, because the reason this lion is rogue, which they do lay out, is you're like, oh, good for this lion. You know, I mean, the reason this lion is going after people is totally just. He's going after the wrong people, but he eventually gets the right people. I mean, I don't want to spoil anything, but it's
basically the lion's displaced because of the poachers. Like poachers killed its pride, so it's going out and killing all people. It's the first scene, so we'll say it. This lion is the last survivor of his pride, because they show you in the first scene these poachers kill the rest of his pride and he gets away. So he's psycho. He's this rogue lion. He's a lion without a family, and he just, in his head, people equal bad. So he's going, and the body count of this lion is insane. Dude, that lion goes hard as fuck. Like
it does.
And it's like, and we saw it at the drive-in, so the screen was a little darker, because I know people are going to complain about the CG line. People are going to, but it looked great on our screen. But again, drive-in theater, screens are a little darker.
Some of the night scenes, people were complaining. It was a regular theater, not a drive-in, and people were complaining that they were dark for me. So I think that some of the night scenes, and I mean, in the movie's defense, you're in the African frames in the middle of the night. Yeah, the African plains in the middle of the night. It's gonna be dark. Yeah. And it may have been to save budget a little bit, so they didn't have to be as detailed with the CG, because the lions are all CG. They may have used some real lions and some of the distant shots of like full prides and stuff, but Idris Elba did not actually wrestle with the lion.
No, but it's done really well, because I drew the comparisons because we saw Fall and Beast last night at the drive-in, and it's definitely one of those like ordinary person caught in an extraordinary situation. And there's not a lot of discourse, but a lot of the complaints I've been seeing online is people going, oh, well, if I was in that situation, I would have done this. And it's like, okay, first of all, motherfucker, if a demon lion is coming after you, you are not going to react well. I guarantee it. I don't give a fuck who you are.
And also, I'll bet you whatever you say that you would try, they tried.
Yeah. And also that's not going to pop in your head, man. But the thing is like they do a good job. So like one of my big problems with Fall was the fact that they kept doing, it was what Ebert would say, like the idiot plot, where it's just like you're creating tension and drama because they did something stupid. Whereas like with this one, it's like there's a lot of motivation behind things. So Idris Elba is a doctor, and they show a lot of good scenes of him like having to perform or having to react to medical situations, and it's all done well. Like, he's like, hold on, we got to sterilize before we do this. Hand me the needle. No, not like that. Like they put in just enough medical stuff where it's like, oh yeah, no, he's believable as a doctor. And they nailed they do the human characters really well. So you feel, because they're trying to heal from like the mother passing, and she's from Africa. So they're kind of going back to her home, hometown and all that. And it's there's a little bit of discourse between the father and the kids, and like it's done real well. There's great chemistry there, and so you have that like emotional element to hold on to, so that when the action kicks in, and there's a lot of it, again, that line goes hard as fuck. There's weight to it, Did I mention that line goes hard as fuck? Because like I swear, dude, there's so many great bits where it just like pops out, or you see it like lurking in the background.
Yeah, totally. Like you'll see Idris Elba will be like looking for it, like with like scopes or something, and then you just kind of see over his shoulder it like pops up. He's a slasher villain.
There's a great part, and they show it in the trailer, where Idris ends up under the truck with a tranq gun, and the lion's just like shoving itself under it, trying to get at him. And like the entire time I was just going like, grab the gun, grab the gun, grab the gun. But Idris is just like kicking the shit out of it. And I think that's one of those moments where people are like, whoa, I would have taken the tranq gun and I would have shot him. It's like, no, dude, you would have been doing the same thing, flailing around trying to like get it to go away.
To give you an idea of what this lion goes through to get these people, When we saw the commercial, my wife is like, there's more than one lion. Those lions look different. Look, that one is like more gray than that one. It's like, oh no, it's the same lion. He just gets kind of messed up and is still coming.
Yeah, dude, it's relentless, but it's a lot of fun. It's a great man versus beast story, you know, classic with like, but it knows when to be serious and it knows when to be a little over the top with it. Tripolo Copley is like phenomenal in it as like the friend, because that guy sells like the most ridiculous characters really well.
Oh yeah,
totally does.
So it's really cool seeing him more in like a of a straight man role and like being serious with it and like a kind of a ridiculous plot. I like that they like, yes, the line is very kind of Jason Voorhees in that, you know, he goes through a lot and it's still going, but they don't go too crazy with it. You know, like there's at no point where you're like, oh, this line's actually possessed by a demon or something like that. Like you see it take damage. It does react to it. It does just keep going, you know, and there's no ridiculous thing where it's like, you know, someone just like, you know, there's one part where like one of the villagers that's attacked calls it a demon, you know, but there's no like, oh, it's the spirit of the area retaliating against the anti-environment, you know, it's the mother nature fighting back. It's just like, no, this is a pissed off line. Like everyone is just very straightforward of like, this is a very pissed off line. We're in its territory and this is not good.
And my one not really gripe with it, but my only thing with Beast is that you can kind of tell how it's going to end pretty early. You can tell how this line is eventually going to be dealt with. They foreshadow it pretty hardcore, but it's also pretty realistic. Basically, the way they get out of it, you can see it coming a mile away because they foreshadow it a mile away.
Yeah.
But it's not unbelievable. You know, it's not, it's, you know, it's something that this is the way that they should have dealt with it, you know, an hour before in the movie.
Not like Fall, where they telegraph every single plot thing early in the movie. And then unlike Fall, you actually get to see how they get out of the situation. Spoiler. Yeah. You don't even see them get rescued. They just cut to her on the ground.
What?
Yeah.
Wait,
you don't
in Fall?
You get no fucking payoff. I'm sorry. I'm going to spoil it like that just talking how great Beast is and how similar they are. Yeah. You don't even get the fucking payoff. Yeah. Anyways,
that's weak. Okay. So let's transition. Well, what I was talking about, talking to the screen in my screening of Beast, there was a lot of talking to the screen. Mm-hmm. And in a movie like Beast, it's fun. You know, you're like, yeah. You know, it's like, oh, no, right there. You know,
grab the gun.
Yeah, totally. Or, you know, you know, I don't want to spoil it, but there's one particular part where everybody is like, oh, that's how you do it. So
I know the scene.
But let's move on to our topic, which is man versus beast movies. Now, not necessarily man versus nature and not necessarily creepy crawly movies, which you've already talked about. Let's talk man versus beast. This is, for lack of a better word, a catch-all is going to be Jaws ripoffs. Yeah, because you know we love our Jaws ripoffs.
Oh yeah,
this is our Moby Dick. You know, man versus one creature. You know, Moby. I always love Parks and Rec where he's like Moby Dick. I like that book because it's no metaphors. It's just a book about a man who hates a fish.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it is interesting kind of going back to that because it all really stems to Jaws, because Jaws was such a massive success. There was an absolute wave of ripoffs, knockoffs, and followers. You know, because you got movies with like Man versus Barracuda, Man versus a different kind of shark, Man versus Piranha, and so on and so forth.
Man versus Grizzly Bear.
Man versus Grizzly Bear. Yeah, no. So it is kind of funny on this particular subject that one movie did it so well that it spawned dozens and dozens and dozens of imitators.
And for the most part, I've always enjoyed if we're talking about Jaws ripoffs, I always like the ones that did use a different animal. You know, I get a little tired of shark movies because, you know, I'm not saying there's only so much you can say because we still keep getting some good shark movies out there. But it's just always so much more interesting seeing what people can do with the different animals. Like Beast was so cool because there were so many great parts where, and your comparison to like Jason Voorhees is great because it's applied to an animal, but like there are some points where it's like, oh shit, he's stalking him, and then all of a sudden you see him like thrashing around people, and it's like, oh, it's like a big kitty cat, and then you see it just like rip off like their like back skin, and you're like, oh, that's a big cat, you know. So I always enjoy seeing like those different things in the special effects and how they do things with them. So like movies like Tentacles was a lot of fun, you know, with it being a giant squid and having like, you know, those coming around was that movie was
squid
silly.
ate a baby.
See, that's what about when I think of Tentacles, I remember seeing it on TV when I was a kid, and that scene, the baby scene, you know, first of all, screw that mom for leaving her kid by the cliff, you know. and then the bus comes by and you see it and the thing is gone. But that was like the most effective scene for me, because I'm like, oh, holy crap, this I thought it was an octopus at the time, but it might have been a squid.
Oh, I think it was an octopus.
Maybe. Oh wait,
I think
it is a giant octopus.
And I'm like, wait, that octopus ate a baby.
Yeah.
Like it was just
holy
so effective.
shit.
Yeah.
Wait, real quick, when it comes to Jaws ripoffs or like knockoffs or films that are trying to be Jaws with claws or something, why don't people take that part of Jaws more? Because Jaws basically opens up with a child getting eaten by a shark. Like that's like decently early in the movie, and yet no one does that. I think it's because of like an unwritten rule a lot of people have, where it's like, oh well, you can't have a kid die. It's like, but that was effective as fuck. Like that's how you knew this shark goes hard. Like you saw a child get eaten by, like, not saying we have to show violence against children in films, you know, do what you need to do for the story, but like exactly with Tentacle, when that baby got taken, you're like, oh damn, no one is safe. This thing is evil. It's eating babies.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that too, because there's that story that in Jaws that they had a different scene with the Kitterman kid getting eaten, and it was considered so gruesome that they cut it from the movie.
Wow.
Well, the scene of him getting eaten is pretty gruesome.
Yeah. So apparently there was an even worse scene, or like gorier scene, of him just getting chewed up by that shark.
Wow.
That's crazy.
And off of Jonathan's comments, I can think of really only a couple examples of that where like they put the kids in danger. Like there's some kid victims, like, and both of them are Corman, because in Piranha, some of the kids I think got eaten, or at least got bitten by the piranha. And Humanoids from the Deep, there's a scene where like a kid gets eaten by one of the humanoids.
That's right.
Yeah, so Corman understood. Got to kill some kids.
Oh, of course, Corman understood shock and schlock. Like he's the king of it.
Yes.
Corman was probably the one standing in the theater going, "Holy shit! They killed the kid. We gotta do that. That's great."
Yeah, he saw Spielberg do it, and he's like, "Oh, we can do that." You know,
I just always thought that argument was interesting when people would be like, "Oh yeah, we can't have the kid die. The kid has to survive," and it's like, Spielberg did it. Like he created all the kids' movies of the 80s. Like he
didn't Hitchcock blow up a kid with a bomb on a bus or something, I think,
in real life or in a movie. No. I wouldn't put it past either way.
I'm forgetting what movie it is, but I feel like he had a kid delivering a package that had a bomb in it, and people were pissed because he blew up a kid. But anyway, that's not Man versus Beast. What are your guys' favorite Jaws ripoffs? I could tell you right now, mine is, we've just mentioned it already, Grizzly.
Yeah,
yes. William Girdler.
And because Grizzly is literally beat for beat Jaws. But instead of the ocean, they're in a forest, and instead of a shark, it's a bear. But you can actually plot the beats out and they match.
Grizzly will always hold a special place in my heart, just because of that ending where is okay if I spoil it?
It's like a 50-year-old movie. Sure.
It's okay.
Go for it.
Where they killed the grizzly with a fucking bazooka. and that scene was so over the top. This is true. It actually inspired the ending to the original Resident Evil video game, where you use a rocket launcher to destroy the final boss. So Grizzly gave us Resident Evil. Go figure.
What else are they going to do? It was another one of those things where they tried everything with that damn bear. You had to bazooka him.
Yeah. When all else fails, bazooka the shit out of it. it's a little off top. Our topic is man versus beast, but my favorite Jaws ripoff is definitely the car. Because if there was a movie that like wasn't just like taking the premise of like something, an unkillable force of nature, like coming after people, you know, we're talking about animals. This applied it to a car, but this film also like took a lot of notes of like style and like the suspense and everything from Jaws, and the car is just a lot of fun. The sequel, Road to Revenge, is terrible and makes no sense. I don't understand it. But I got it at Dollar Trees on DVD, so I wasn't too upset. But for Man versus Beast, Long Weekend is just pure, brilliant exploitation. It's about like the two most despicable human beings ever going on vacation in the Australian outback. Like they're just killing animals left and right for no fucking reason, like just shooting birds.
They're up against a lot of different animals though, right? That's not just a single one.
No, it's not just a single one. Yeah. It's literally like everyone's going. Yeah. Hawks are attacking them. Yeah. There's like,
so that's not really a Jaws rip. That's like a Day of the Animals kind of a thing.
No. So that's why my thing's a two-parter. So like,
okay,
straight up Jaws ripoff or knockoff or huge inspo car. Man versus Beast, Long Weekend, because it's man versus all the beasts, and it's just great because like again, most of the time like I always like movies that pull off having the protagonist not be a good person. I enjoy having that palate cleanser every now and then, and Long Weekend pulls it off tremendously. Like the first 20 minutes is just them like stomping on random eggs and just fighting with each other the entire time, and like just basically being like, God, can somebody please like take these people out? And Mother Nature is just like, I'm on it. I'm sending everything.
At that point, the protagonist is Mother Nature.
Yeah.
When you see,
pretty much.
It shifts.
Yeah, the evil humans.
Yep.
Have you guys ever seen Turkish Jaws?
No.
In looking up for this episode, there's a movie and it's called I'm gonna mispronounce it like a motherfucker, but it's Cole but it's known as like Turkish Jaws, and now I really need to see this movie.
Yeah, that sounds wild.
If anyone knows how to watch this movie, please DM me, let me know, because I need to watch this.
All right. As for me, I think probably one of my favorite Jaws knockoffs was Dino De Laurentiis's Orca, the killer whale.
Yeah, just talking about Moby Dick.
Yeah, exactly.
Orca is basically Moby Dick. Yeah.
Pretty much, except it's the whale that wants revenge on the sailor.
But also Richard Harris, he's obsessed with this orca too. So it works both ways. And what we're talking about with like the shifting antagonist, that orca has a reason to want revenge.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
A really good one. So, yeah.
They do a good job of like selling the emotion of that whale in that movie, which is like interesting as all hell how they pulled that off. Like that's some editing right there.
Yeah. And I love that they kind of take a swipe at Jaws by having the orca kill a great white shark in the opening like 5 minutes.
We're stronger than Jaws.
I love it when movies have unearned hubris in the beginning of it, you know, where it's like, yeah, we're doing something that someone said before, but we're going to do it better. And no one has pulled that off better than Orca.
Yeah, that was just great. The biggest fuck you.
Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. And no, I mean, because it's interesting because it is this kind of drama revenge movie between a fisherman and a whale, and it actually works. You know, because like, you know, there is actual emotion from the animal as opposed to stuff like Jaws and stuff where it's just this kind of mindless killing machine. No, that orca is pissed. And
the motivation is 100% clear.
It's also great because I don't know if Beast is going to have as much of an impact to create another surge of these type of movies. But we got to remember, like, Jaws created a lot of like knockoffs and movies that are like trying to cash in on it in the late 70s and 80s. But remember, Jurassic Park also inspired a lot of that too in the 90s between the technology and everything. So we had like a great resurgence of them in the 90s with like Anaconda, Lake Placid. And I finally watched one that's been on my list for a while, which was The Edge with Anthony Hopkins and Alec Baldwin, which is about this billionaire played by Anthony Hopkins who gets lost in like the Alaska wilderness with Alec Baldwin and another guy, and they have to survive. Meanwhile, a man-eating bear is like stalking and chasing after them. And first of all, it was the final performance of Bart the Bear, R.I.P. Bud. And boy, did he give a performance. Bart the Bear was like a famous bear actor who was in like Legends of the Fall. So he worked with Anthony Hopkins twice. But what a great performance. Apparently he was like the nicest bear, but you would not think that in in The Edge, which is such a weird title. That's a weird movie because it is man versus beast, but like it's a small part of it. But like mostly, I think the most unrealistic thing about that movie is that Anthony Hopkins plays a billionaire who's a nice guy. Like, I'm sorry, no one becomes a billionaire being nice. Like, you become a billionaire through exploitation. That's for certain.
So you don't think John Hammond was a nice guy in Jurassic Park?
He spared no expense.
In the movie version, he is. In the book, he's a bastard. Like, there is a very big difference between John Hammond in the book Jurassic Park and the movie. But yeah, what were some of your guys' favorite like 90s with the new technology, like man versus beast movie?
I loved Jurassic Shark, Deep Blue Sea.
Oh, the classic.
I was like, wait, Jurassic Shark?
No,
what? Is that a sci-fi movie?
That's what we used to call it back in the 90s. Deep Blue Sea, which has, I mean, seriously, one of the greatest death scenes of all time, Samuel L. Jackson.
Oh, jeez.
That's one of those ones. And one of these days, I want to start going into like the direct-to-video sequels to some of these, because like Lake Placid has like,
oh god,
they have like six of them. Yeah,
they have Lake Placid versus Anaconda.
Anaconda has a bunch. Deep Blue Sea has 2 sequels. Same with Open Water.
Open Water 2. Kind of when you were talking about fall and like, you know, the ladder falls up. You're like, you know, how crazy that is. Open Water 2. Have you guys seen it?
No.
The people basically, they take this boat out and they get all excited to go swimming in the ocean. So they jump off the side and stuff, and no one put the ladder down, so they couldn't get back into the boat.
Oh.
And I think it's a King of the Hill episode too.
It is.
They do that. Yeah.
It is. I was like, this sounds very familiar. What is it? Yeah, King of the Hill.
And what makes Open Water 2 more heartbreaking is there's a baby on the boat.
Ooh.
And they hear it crying because it's hungry or it's getting sunburned or something, and they can't get on the boat to it. Oh. It's so that's less a shark movie than just a people battling their own stupidity movie.
Yikes.
Wow.
Eventually the baby is saved. They don't kill the baby in Open Water 2. But it is anyway.
Yeah, and in terms of 90s stuff, I actually rewatched Anaconda recently at the funny enough, Friday Night Frights did an Animals Attacks movie marathon, so I saw a bunch of these. But yeah, Anaconda still holds up, and it is a wild ass movie. Just because, yeah, so it's about this documentary crew, including Ice Cube and Jennifer Lopez and Owen Wilson going out into the South American Amazon so that they can document like this lost tribe. And they happen to come upon, they find John Voight on a sinking ship with the most ridiculous accent, like vaguely Southern accent I've ever heard. And he convinces them to go down a different path because he's like a poacher trying to hunt a giant anaconda for money, and the anaconda starts fucking them up and killing them and eating them one by one. So it is fun, and it is interesting because it's one of those animal attacks movies where they also have a human villain to deal with, like John Voight keeps on messing stuff up for everybody, and then it becomes John Voight versus animals,
which that's always entertaining to watch. Just John Voight fighting animals. I'm not advocating for people to physically fight animals, but I'd watch John Voight fight animals. You know, put him in a ring with a kangaroo or something.
Pretty much. And and it is one of those rare 90s effects movies that really holds up because they still had a lot of practical effects in there. Because like the CG on the anaconda is a little noticeable, but the thing is that they really mixed it with the practical stuff, so it's not as flagrant. But it's still fun.
That was one of the ones that like closely tried to emulate what Jurassic Park was doing with special effects and blending really good practical with cutting edge at the time CGI. And yeah, it's so effective. I forget Owen Wilson is in that movie all the time because there was that weird period where Owen Wilson was just in a bunch of really random big budget movies where it's just like, why? But it works. We've been talking some of our favorites. What are some man versus animals that you guys want to see that haven't really been done? Because I really want like a New England based man versus animal movie involving fishers. Because if you guys don't know what fishers are, they're these vicious little kind of Wolverine type creatures. We call them fisher cats because they eat household cats all the time. And the thing about them is that when the noise they make sounds like crying babies. So when you're like walking in the dark in the woods or down like a road in New Hampshire, you just hear crying babies out in the distance. And I always thought that would be cool. Just like a pack of fishers, just like going after like a campers or something. And you just keep hearing crying babies out in the distance in the dark, and then all of a sudden, vicious attack and whatnot.
Yeah, that does sound intense.
I think I want to see the Dingo Ate My Baby movie.
I thought they already did that.
Wasn't it Meryl Streep?
Well, I mean, they did the drama based off of that story.
Oh, no. I want to see the exploitation one.
Oh, you want to see like an ozploitation evil man versus dingo movie.
Man versus dingo, yeah.
I'm always down for ozploitation type because they Australia
Razorback.
Razorback.
Yes, Razorback.
Australia produced some of the best Jaws knockoffs with Razorback and a few others that I'm completely blanking on right now.
As for me, again, on the New England stuff, I would like to see man versus lobster because, or just like with crustaceans, they can grow ridiculously big. And, there's those prehistoric lobsters and crustaceans that could like be as big as a bicycle. So yeah, I mean, just imagine, like this New England fishing village is on hard times and, these prehistoric lobsters arise and start eating everybody.
There has to be a point where someone goes, if we don't stop these lobsters now, we're all chowder.
Yes.
That could be like a fun, like Tremors, but in the water, where you have to take it a little bit, silly. You have to be a little silly with it, but like, actually have like those moments of tension.
Oh, no doubt. But I mean, the premise of just that giant lobsters going around eating people is absurd. So you got to roll with it.
You could do something where it's like they're getting hit on hard times, but they discover like the prehistoric like lobster, and so they start like harvesting them because they're like, guys, we can make so much money off of the lobster meat on these guys. Think of all the lobster rolls we can make with one of these guys, and so they're trying to get it, and then lobsters attack, and there's like an invasion of them. It could be like them, but with lobsters.
And of course, we want the internet meme. This internet meme is actually correct because everybody wants a Hungry Hippos movie. We need to see man versus hippo because hippos are assholes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. They're not as cute as, as Henrietta Hippo on the New Zoo Review.
Hippos eat people. Like,
yeah,
hippos,
I know.
Like go hard as fuck.
Yeah, hippos kill hundreds of people a year. Like they kill way more people than like sharks or bears or other stuff.
Where's our Hungry Hippos movie?
Yeah, no, just 4 hippos get unleashed in like a grocery store and start eating everything and everybody.
And they're all different colors.
Yeah.
Okay, let's end on Hungry Hippos. Someone make our Hungry Hippos movie. You did it for Battleship. You did it for Clue.
Hit us up, Hasbro. We know you want it.
Well, remember in the after party, that was one of the movies that Dave Franco's character was in, was Hungry Hippos. And he had that.
They've been joking about it forever. And I think it would be a great, no joke, great. And that and Mousetrap. I think Mousetrap would make a great like crawl space or Saw kind of a movie.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, everybody always plays it for the device. They don't care about the game.
Well, remember,
totally.
Gord Verbinski did Mouse Hunt with Nathan Lane. Which was kind of Mousetrap the movie, but that movie weirdly has aged way too well. Like that movie's really good. It had no right to be that good. I watched it again recently, but yeah. Anyways, let's wrap this up.
let's get out of here. What are your favorite man versus beast? I know that we glossed over or missed some of them. There are
we didn't get into the alligator movies. We didn't get into the crocodile movies, the killer crocodile movies.
We totally missed Cujo, who's just a cuddly good boy. Anyway, let us know what your favorites are, and let us know if you agree with some of our favorites, because Grizzly totally rules, and I know you all agree with me.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And Grizzly 2 is understandably a mess.
Our theme song is by Restless Spirit, so go check them out. And our artwork is by Chris Fisher, so go check him out. You can find us on all the socials under Eye on Horror. We have a Facebook, we have an Insta, we have a Twitter. You can also find us at iHorror.com, which is the site where we all call home. And find us and tell us how right or wrong we are. Is Orca just a Moby Dick ripoff, or is it actually a Jaws ripoff? Who is the antagonist of Orca? Is it Richard Harris, or is it the whale? I don't know.
Why not both?
It can be both.
Why can't it be both Moby Dick and Jaws? Why can't it be? Yeah, it's Moby Dick and Jaws. Like, it's great.
It is. It's Moby Dick / Jaws.
And why didn't we mention Prophecy? Isn't that your favorite? This list is so long.
Prophecy. We'll do another episode about eco horror where we talk about Prophecy, because
eco horror. I can talk about The Happening.
Yes. Okay. We're going to get out of here. So stay tuned for our episode on eco horror coming up at some point. Next time we're stuck for a topic, file this one away, guys. We'll see you guys in a couple weeks. So for me, James J. Edwards.
I'm Jacob Davison.
And I'm Jonathan Correa.
Keep your eye on horror.